So what's up, Plano guys? We're going to talk a little bit about some things that are going on. One of the things that we've been kind of talking about is the Texas Forever Fest thing. But if you had to give us one thing about Plano that you just, man, I love this about our city, what would you say that was?
Well, I mentioned it earlier, and there's a couple of things, but one of them that I think we just take for granted is the parks that we have in Plano.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Community Difference Plano. I am your host, Nathan Smith. I am excited for our show today. We've got a great show in store. Hope everybody had a great week. We were off, of course, 1 week for the fifth Wednesday. We did not have the show last week, so we couldn't be more excited to get back with you. We've got a fantastic show today. Of course, the difference in all of our communities exists to just that, to make the difference for our small businesses, to understand, why is it that certain businesses succeed and others don't, right? And it really comes down to the they're not seen, they're not heard, they're not remembered. Well, what is that? Well, we want to bring that relevance. We want to bring that the ability to help grow your business, develop your business, utilizing a large part of the medium of podcasting to be seen, be heard, and be remembered, but also all the other aspects from networking to brand management to really just ways and strategies to stay top of mind. And so as we utilize these shows to not only introduce you to some phenomenal business leaders in the community, community leaders, nonprofits, just people that are making the difference in the community, bringing the right people to our listeners is really key. And so if you want to know more about what we're doing, obviously you can comment, you can share our show, or you can go to our Community Difference Plano Facebook page to get more information there. And so without further ado, I'm going to jump right in. I want to bring in our amazing co-host today. Joining us is Jim Thomas. Jim, good morning to you, sir. How it's been a couple of weeks.
It has been a couple of weeks. Good to be back. Good to be here.
Fantastic. When the going gets tough, the smart get help. I think that's one of your biggest sayings. I mean, people need to learn how to ask for the things that they want, right? They need to first, and we talk about this all the time, but one of the things you always ask people is, are you ready to make a change? Because you can't do anything without that, right?
You've got to be ready. I mean, it's got to be, sometimes people want it, but you actually have to want it. And, we could kind of follow that up with, hey, if you don't know where you're going, ask someone who's been there.
100%. Jacqueline Kreider with PBJ Mortgage. I know things have been crazy in your industry lately, up and down, kind of a whirlwind. We were talking a little bit about that in the pre-show. How has your last week been so far?
It's been really good. We're starting to see the market really kind of heating up, which is a good thing, and that's awesome. I mean, I have definitely been looking forward to us getting back to kind of the usual, I guess, if you will, right?
Yeah.
That I do well when I'm bored.
Well, what you described to me of your schedule, things you've been doing, it doesn't sound like you have time to be bored. So that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I never really have time to be bored, but yes, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I love to, get an opportunity to really be helping the clients and getting them into whatever it is, whether it be downgrading, upgrading, or getting into a first home. It's good to be able to handle that, right?
100%. And also today, a guest co-hosting. He hosts the Community Difference Frisco, and he's coming on over about just to get to know our community a little bit, but also to speak with our guest today, Brian Poduska with Real Property Management Focus, and really a pioneer. He was a day oneer of the Difference Media LLC way back when we were meeting in an actual studio before COVID, and he's a trooper. He's been here for a long time. Brian, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Great to see everybody today. Great to invade from the next door neighbor of Frisco. Always happy to see you guys, and always happy to be part of the difference.
Well, as Frisco and Plano continue to grow, maybe we can be the Twin Cities of the South. Maybe that's something that can be, because they're so much. Both cities have so much to offer. Shout out to Brenda. Brenda Thompson's another one of our co-hosts. She's on the third Wednesday. Glad you're watching this morning. Brian, what else you got going? Anything exciting?
It's just one of those weeks trying to play catch up. This is the slower time of year as far as moves go and things like that. So the real estate world is a little calmer right now. It just allows us to get into more of our strategic things, getting some processes in place. So that's what I've been hammering on the last month or so.
Well, that sounds exciting. What's coming up. I'm going to ask you guys a question about the Super Bowl here real quick. But first, before we do that, I want to bring on our honored guest this morning, Mayor John B Munns, 40th mayor of Plano as of 2021. He served the community before being mayor in a number of roles, city chair of the Planning Zoning Commission and the Economic Development Board. Mr. Mayor, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
We are thrilled that you're here. Thank you for taking some time to come and be a part of this virtual community. Obviously, you have a passion for the people of Plano, the citizens of Plano. Just real quickly, I told you in the pre-show, we're going to dive in a lot more to you and a lot of questions that we have. But you've obviously been first term as mayor. What led you to decide to run for mayor? And then how long have you been a part of the Plano community in general?
Well, I've lived in Plano for nearly all my life. I was born in Dallas, and we moved from Dallas up to Plano in 1969. And
Okay.
There wasn't a whole lot here in 1969, except for a lot of farmland. So it was an amazing opportunity for me to become involved in the Plano community at a very early period of time. So I have really become the biggest cheerleader of Plano for a very long time. So I went to school in Plano. I went to Plano High School, which was the only high school. When I came back from college, I really wanted to get involved. So one of the biggest loves for me was being a part of Plano Independent School District. So I ran for board of trustee, and I was on the school board for 16 years, quite frankly. So it was just part of giving back to the community. And when Mayor Harry LaRosseliere, my predecessor, asked me to chair the planning and zoning, that was a real opportunity for me to kind of look and see where we were, where we're going. And I realized that Mayor Harry was termed out, and there was a need for stability and making sure someone that really knew the community well would continue on and to lead this city where it needs to go.
Well, we're going to spend some time today in our next segment, What's Up Plano, talking about some things that are going on in the community, some things obviously that you want to share with us, Mayor. So What's Up Plano, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about some things that are going on. One of the things that we've been kind of talking about is the Texas Forever Fest. When we first met with Councilman Shelby Williams, a friend of the show, I think he said, and Mayor, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, that Plano is really the only, at least in the surrounding area, that does a real big celebration of Plano independence. And it's been now, I think this is the third or the fourth year.
Yeah, you may be right. I obviously haven't researched that part of it, but
that's what he said. So I'm gonna go with it. Okay. Sounds good for Plano.
I think Councilmember Williams would know, but this is a great opportunity for us. We tend to really celebrate a lot of opportunities in downtown Plano, and it's almost like if you announce it or if you build it, they will come, and it turns out to be a great event every year, and so we're really excited about it coming up this spring.
If you haven't been, I got to go out there last year, and it's just a cool, all kinds of different vendors and live music and artists, and it's just a really great time. Hager Park right out there in downtown. By the fountain, right by the DART station. So a beautiful park, beautiful place, plenty of shade, which is nice. I love the Plano Balloon Festival, not as much shade there. And this one's in March, so it's a lot cooler, which is really nice. But if you want to be a vendor, you can actually go to the Plano website, plano.gov, search Texas Forever Fest. The Friday is the deadline to be a vendor, whether it's as a booth or a food truck, whatever that looks like. And if you have any questions, there's contact information there as well. But I want to turn over to you, Mr. Mayor, and obviously anybody can jump in here. Just some things that you guys, as you're working in all the areas that impact the citizens of Plano and the growth of Plano. What are some things that are going on right now that you think, man, this is really important for our citizens to be aware of or to know?
Well, I think a lot of where we're at today in Plano is not only do we have some amazing greenfield or new development going on right now, but we also have redevelopment. I was talking about that earlier in the pre-show, is that Plano's growth occurred probably 20 or 30 years before what we're seeing north of us in Frisco and Prosper and Salina. And so we not only have real opportunities in both areas, but we have a real commitment to our infrastructure, the things that have been either underground or on the ground for 40 to 60 years. And we have a real commitment to continue to make sure our infrastructure is sound for the next 30 to 50 years. And so you see a lot of construction, you see a lot of orange cones, and we are intentional about that, because it's really important that we shore up not only our main arterial roads, but even our neighborhood roads and alleys. And one of the things that people don't realize is that, and this will occur in the neighbors to our north, is a lot of the big developments in our neighborhoods that have the perimeter brick walls all around them, and the developer put all this in, but the developer's gone. And so when we talk about these needs, the perimeter walls or sidewalks or alleys, these are now on the city of Plano to make sure they're in good condition. And so those are also big responsibilities for us to make sure that Plano residents have a very good infrastructure and in good condition in their neighborhoods. And so it's really important to us.
We talked about this on our very first show, how, a lot of people will see construction and they're, oh, there's always construction, and just but Jacqueline pointed out, to her credit, that, really that means that there's always something being improved upon.
Yeah.
And you guys have probably been to cities and or states, which we won't mention, that you're like, have they ever worked on the roads?
Well, I was going to say Plano was huge in the beginning, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor, but about forcing some of the developers to at least expand some of the roads and really make it a better infrastructure than what a lot of cities have done, which is they just let people come in, and then it's so congested you can't really move, right? Which is a problem.
Yeah, and I will go back real quick just to our forefathers that really were amazing at planning this city, when, as we were laughing about, all it was farmland, and how they were able to create not only a good system of traffic throughout all of Plano, but to make sure all the roads were wide. And even the developments of the schools and libraries and other areas, we always included parks. And so we added parks. And so we have 90 parks in Plano, and we continue to get awards for that. And it's really more, no, we don't have a beach, and no, we don't have a mountain, but we do have accessibility. And because of that, everyone has access really close by to parks.
Well, I made the comment, you and I don't know, Mayor, if you agree, but the bike trails make a huge difference with those parks, right? Because they connect them all. So if you wanted to go to one park and then hop on your bike and go, take the trails for a while and then go to a different park, it's very easy to access all of that, which is what was so great about growing up in Plano, is that you could easily access all of those kind of things.
And not only that, I totally agree with you. Not only that, but we have somewhere around 100 miles of trails. And now we are working with the city of Allen and the city of Dallas on connecting us to them and making sure those trails, and Frisco as well, to make sure those trails are, all that connectivity is available for everybody in this North Texas area.
Well, speaking of connectivity, one of the things that I know you guys are working on when Councilman Williams, the DART projects, and this is not just Plano. Obviously, DART is a North Texas project, but it's kind of operating off of I think 1983 is when DART came around, somewhere in there, and that infrastructure. So I
40
know
years.
we're building a silver line through Plano, which I think is going to go straight to DFW, which
Right.
is way faster than going all the way through downtown. I've done that. It's terrible. So obviously we're very excited about that. But I know there were some meetings and things with that the community could be involved in. Just give us an update on Plano's place, I guess, in that project that's going to affect really all of North Texas in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we're really excited about the Silver Line, which is we'll have two stations that the Silver Line and the Red Line will be used at. The Shiloh Road will be at the end of the line, which is about as east as you can go. There'll be one more station before it kind of goes into Richardson, UTD, on into Addison, and then out to Irving and the airport. We're real hopeful that this has a real opportunity that a lot of our residents will use this access. And so what we're hoping to find out is at these stations where they exist, what would you like to see there? What amenities, what resources would you like to see at these stations to make sure that not only is it, have the amenities you're looking for, but it's safe and secure, and that it's a real opportunity for our residents to use it and really take advantage of the access. So that's what we're really hoping to do in some of these town halls.
Well, I know Brian had a question in just a moment, but we had a comment from one of our other Frisco co-hosts on Facebook. Just kind of a general question for you. You've lived in Plano most of your life. Probably hard to ask you one thing, but if you had to give us one thing about Plano that you just, man, I love this about our city, what would you say that was?
Well, I mentioned it earlier, and there's a couple of things, but one of them that I think we just take for granted is the parks that we have in Plano, that we've really made room for the development as we went along to make sure that all the schools had parks next to them, the libraries had parks next to them. And then we have an Oak Point Park, and I know Frisco's got the Hall Park coming, and it's going to be amazing. But our Oak Point Park, which is a nature preserve, is actually larger than Central Park in New York City. So we definitely have that green space that a lot of people always are asking about, and yet we've been providing that for the last 40 and 50 years. The other area that I would say is what is it that these corporate relocations like about Plano? And we get this almost to a T, is that first of all, it's a safe and secure community. Second of all, the education is good, and that's important to those that have come from all over the world, which we obviously have some major international companies here in Plano. And the third is workforce development and the workforce availability in this North Texas area is really fruitful. And that really those three areas seem to be a consistent reason why we're seeing a lot of companies move to North Texas.
Well, you talk about North Texas kind of as a region in Collin County, really everything north of George Bush, which includes Frisco, which is another one of the communities that we're embedded and growing. And Brian, I know we had mentioned before some questions about, if you want to ask it, about kind of the working together of Plano and Frisco on certain things.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been a resident of Frisco for 12 years now. Moved here from the Chicago area, and when I moved down here, I was just blown away by the amount of growth going on in the area. Whether it's Plano, Prosper, we narrowed it down to those four were Plano, Frisco, Allen, and McKinney, right? And that's pretty typical, as you mentioned. The workforce availability. That's what brought me down here, right?
Right.
And so, what I was amazed, not only the growth, but also just I think you mentioned it earlier, the infrastructure and the infrastructure planning that it takes to, sustain all that growth and make it go as smoothly as possible. So me being in real estate, I see some of the behind the scenes aspects of that planning, but if you don't mind sharing with the audience and even educate us on how does all that cooperation work between, I mean, because Frisco and Plano are border neighbors, right? And
Right.
you guys have all those, Plano has all those corporate headquarters up on the north side of Plano. Legacy West Development has been fantastic. So how do you work together with other cities and selfishly Frisco in this case? How does that all come together?
Well, I think for the most part, most people have no idea that they've crossed from Plano into Frisco and vice versa. We obviously know it. Mayor Cheney and I talk a lot about areas that we can help each other in, along with Mayor Fuller and other mayors that are part of the Collin County area. But we're very competitive. I'm not going to deny that we work really hard to make sure that the companies that want to be in North Texas, we want to show them that Plano is where they should be. And we have had some wins, we've had some losses, and I think that's the bottom line, is that at the end of the day, though, Frisco is benefiting from the corporations that are in Plano, and Plano is benefiting from the corporations in Frisco and McKinney and others. And so we do need to realize that areas of help that we can give to our partners to the north of us, to the south of us, we really try to do that. And so one of the things that we do on every other Friday is we have Big City Mayors Consortium. And these are the mayors, the top 10 to 12 largest cities in Texas. And we talk about shared issues that we're dealing with, whether it be, issues that are affecting us from the state or Washington, and how we're dealing with some of those things. So we work really well together on areas of need and areas of that we're doing well. And so I think we'll continue to be able to do that and still at the same time be very competitive.
I was listening. Oh, go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say that's awesome to hear. And the Big City Mayor Consortium, that's super important for the region, because if one area isn't working in cooperation with the others, it's not going to work. And on a lighter note, we did have Mayor Cheney on one of our Frisco community shows. So, you mentioned the competitive nature you guys have. We might have to set up like an arm wrestling, arm wrestling or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Well, we're going to break here in about 5 minutes. Before we do that, so I was listening to it was very strange. Couldn't sleep one night, and I was listening to the Plano Chamber the City Council meeting.
Yeah.
As you do at 1 a.m. I don't know why I was doing that, but I was listening to Peter Braster. He's kind of the director of special projects for the city, and
Correct.
He was presenting on this kind of revitalization, beautification of shopping centers that are going on in the Plano region. Gave an example of I'm totally blanking on the one at 18th Street and Avenue K that's been redone, the market there.
Yeah.
But the example that he used was actually at 14th and Jupiter, a shopping center right by where we live. And we walk to the post office a lot just for exercise. And so we go by there all the time. And I'm like, oh, that's us, So I was talking with Shelby, and I want to get your advice, as a citizen and as our listeners, and other small businesses, because obviously some of it is grant money, some of it is cooperation with the landlords and the tenants. But as a citizen, what can we do to say, hey, yeah, this is, put the efforts, put the resources here directly in our little part of the community? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. So this is just another product of, there were some amazing developments 20 and 30 years ago, but one of them that we probably should have been a little bit more careful about was the four corner retail. So you were just kind of flooding the zone to a certain degree, and there was always going to be failures. And we didn't want to see that. And so now over the years, excuse me, over the years, we have had some that are in somewhat of a disarray. And yet we don't really have a whole lot of incentive to move these owners to update and upgrade their centers. So we came up with a way that we could incentivize these four corner retails to come up with some either new retail, lessen the big box stores, and try to do something a little bit more that experiential that we're seeing more demand for. And if that would include office or medical or even low density housing, how would that look? And would the owner be willing to let us maybe offer to create an incentive? Maybe it would just be to help pay for the demolishment of what's there now and come up with some new products after that. So we have a range of items in the toolbox that we want to offer to some of these retail outlets that have been really not been taken care of over the last 10 to 15 years, and see if we can help them update and upgrade those centers.
Well, you mentioned a lot of things that we want to touch on in the next segment, because I know a big focus on you is obviously economic development. And as you know, we're a show obviously aimed at our citizenry, but really our small business community.
Yeah.
That economic development, incentives, things like that are very important to understand. So we want to tackle that in some upcoming segments. So stick around. When we come back, we're going to do a roundtable. We're going to get to know the mayor as mayor, but also as a business owner and as a guy, as a family man as well. So stick around. We'll be right back.